live, recording this right now. It is Monday, April 27th, around 7 p.m. Eastern Time. By the time you're listening to this, BYU might have a big man. BYU might have a center, might have some other pieces on this team. But we had to get a podcast out because for all the audio listeners listening right now, you're wondering, they haven't done a podcast about any of these new additions. We've put out instant reactions up on the YouTube channel, so make sure to go check that out. Subscribe. I've been doing 5-10-minute reactions on all these guys and everything, but we thought we should go through and knock out everything that's happened over the last couple weeks since we've put out an audio podcast, all the commits, everybody leaving, who's BYU targeting, the latest portal stuff and everything. And so we'll get right into it in a second. But Chase, good to be back.
It's good to be back. I know it's kind of the dark ages of college basketball. The transfer portal's slowed down significantly. Doesn't mean it's completely dead. And we're in that kind of April hangover from the sport. But it is good to talk BYU hoops, a BYU roster with you, Karter. No one else I'd rather do it with.
Yeah, and we'll get into the center stuff in a little bit, but I can feel the anxiety from all BYU fans around the world right now. I'm at church, Chase. I got people coming up to me at church like, are we going to sign a big man? I said, you know what? I don't know. Maybe not.
I mean, if it was up to me, I don't know. I too am wondering the same thing. It's been weeks now in this transfer portal. I don't blame them. I think the fact that they've taken their time, particularly with the center, I know we'll talk more about it, but the fact they've taken their time is a better sign to me. They're not making any rash decisions. They're not scrambling to just sign whoever and overpay. They're attempting to find the right person with the right attitude, the right fit for this team, and to be the starting center moving forward. That's a big ask, especially with college basketball and the way it's played now. They're being very careful, and therefore they're taking their time.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll get into the big man stuff here in a minute. Let's talk about some of the departures and everything, everything outgoing from BYU. We'll be quick on this one. Obviously, we all know the guys who hit the portal. Xavion, he's at Oregon State. Kostic went to Northwestern. Dominic Diamande went to Pitt. Abdullah Ahmed hit the portal. He is not committed yet. He's currently on a visit at UMass, I believe, last I was told, but we'll see there. Kennard Davis has hit the portal, and he's declared for the NBA draft, Chase. So best of luck to Moo as well. Tyler Morus, the Morus bus hit the portal. No indications there yet as well.
I think he went NBA draft too. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
And then AJ declared for the draft. So thank goodness I don't have to hear that anymore of, is AJ staying?
And he's getting his degree. He's doing the Troy Bolton kind of like best of both worlds. He's appeasing both parties there. Going to keep doing BYU online. So shout out to AJ. Shout out to AJ for his LinkedIn post. Some really nice things to say about the program at BYU. And I know that I will forever remember AJ fondly. And I'll remember him fondly. I won't remember this season fondly. And I feel like it'll always be kind of like the season that got away from BYU in a bit of a I'll just say, for lack of a better term, a waste of a year from the best basketball player that this school will ever see. We had some ups and downs, but yeah. As far as all the departures go, I think for BYU that this is what's best. I think I wish all those guys the absolute best. I'm not here to bag on any of them. I know the season didn't go the way anyone wanted, and there was a lot of reasons, and you can't just pin it all on players. But I do think it's a good thing for BYU to kind of just clear out the room a little bit, get rid of the stink, the stink of that last season. I don't blame the guys for it, but it just feels good to kind of cleanse the palate a little bit and just get started with something fairly fresh. Obviously, you're bringing back Rob Wright, which I think was a huge deal to bring back legitimately one of the best point guards in the country, and a couple of guys who could play some roles, and that was it. And it's all fresh and new. Now it's led to, hey, you got to build this whole new roster now. But I think in the long run, with all these guys, best of luck to them. But this is what's best for them and for BYU moving forward.
Yeah, and then you talk about the guys returning. You have Nate Pickens returning, Hadim Boop, Brody Kozlowski, and then most importantly, Rob Wright. And I don't know if we've done a podcast since then talking about Rob. I think I did a solo one, but I mean, we've been the biggest Rob Wright defenders, and I feel like in BYU circles, Chase, I think people have ragged on him. I think sometimes it's been unfair. I think sometimes if you talk about the defensive side, at times I think that has been fair. But most importantly, you have a chance of getting a guy like Rob Wright, and it wasn't the fact that, BYU put up the money and overpaid for Rob. It was the fact that he had a bigger offer. He had a more lucrative offer from Mark Pope in Kentucky and said, no, I don't want to leave BYU. And that's what it was the whole time. He didn't actually want to leave BYU, but you got to play the game. You got to hit the portal. You got to get as much money as possible. And, his price did raise a little bit and whatnot. But at the end of the day, he still wanted to come play at BYU, stay at BYU, and play for Kevin Young. I think that speaks volumes. And also, I think people forget, one, that the talent in college basketball is going to be diminished a little bit going into next season. You're not going to have AJ, Kingston Fleming, Caleb Wilson, Cam Boozer, Darren Peters, all these ridiculous top NBA draft picks. A lot of good guys returning too, don't get me wrong. But the overall talent, I think, is going to be diminished going into next season. And therefore, you look at the other point guards around college basketball with guys like Christian Anderson likely staying in the draft. Rob Wright's a potential first-team All-American type guy next year.
100%. And as he was in the portal, and you and I did pods, and we talked a ton off air about who could possibly replace him, not a single name that came up would have been an upgrade to Rob Wright. And that just speaks to how good he is. And also the continuity in some sense. I know I just talked about how much it was better to kind of clear out the room, but to have this type of leader and with his skill set and talent come back, I think is big. And to kind of clear out the rest of the cast. And if you wanted to criticize Rob last season, I think there was moments to do so. But I also would point to, again, who he was passing to, the state of that team, the fact that there was not a single other point guard on the roster that was playable. He had to play. He played 40 minutes. I feel like half the games, especially there on the back end. I think this is really big for BYU, obviously. And you talked about it, and I'll just briefly say that for him to go to Lexington to take a visit, and for every beat reporter to be confused and shocked that it was going worse rather than good when he got on campus, says a lot about, I think, where his heart really was. It also says a lot about KY and what these players believe in him and what BYU is offering these guys. So to turn down even more money and a prestigious program like Kentucky for BYU is another great win off the court. And overall, a win to have Rob Wright in a BYU uniform this next season. So,
look at the top point guards in the sport, Chase. I think it's a great point you bring up where you look at, we're talking about pods like when Rob's in the portal, other targets. You talk about like Neo Avdalis going to Carolina. It's like you look at Carolina's roster now that they don't have it. Now that Vasar's staying in the draft, you look at Carolina's roster, you're like, I don't necessarily love the efficiency on that starting five at the moment. And then you look at Quinn Ellis going to St. John's, or it's like they had to put up crazy money to get Quinn Ellis to go to St. John's. I still like Rob Wright's game more than that. And I'm not just saying that. The whole time, Chase and I stood firm that Rob needed to come back. BYU needed Rob. And now you have a starting 3, 4-ish. I don't know who's playing the 4 yet. We definitely don't know who's playing the 5 quite yet. But you have Rob, Colin Chandler, and Bruce Branch. So nice 3 in the backcourt to have going into next season.
It's a wonderful foundation, and spearheaded by Rob Wright and all the experience he's going to bring. I mean, people got to remember he was a 40% three-point shooter, just outrageously efficient from beyond the line. Multiple games scoring over 30. Like, this dude can do it all. And if you wanted him to pass more, well, I think he, plenty of times he made the right pass and guys just weren't hitting them. And I think he also had the responsibility to score a lot more than he will this next season. And so big win. The second I left on vacation, Karter, Rob Wright decided to come back to BYU. That's why I left Karter hanging solo there, but he did a wonderful job doing it. But never got to give off my Rob Wright take. So that's it. Glad he's back. Let's build the 5. Let's get a 5 and build this team and find some success next season. It's there, Karter. It's there for them.
And a good chunk of this episode will be talking about the 5 and what BYU needs and everything, and we'll get into that in a minute. Also, while we're recording right now, Chase, KJ Perry has committed to Fresno State. So best of luck to him.
Best of luck to him.
Moving on. You haven't been able to talk about the guys who have committed from the portal. Jake Wahlin from Clemson. BYU had been linked to him forever. Then they weren't. And then last second, out of nowhere, Kevin Young calls up Jake Wahlin and says, "Hey, man, we want you. Rewatch the film. I'm in." And he goes, "Sweet, I'm in. I'll be on a flight to Salt Lake City ASAP." And so Jake Wahlin back in Provo, homecoming for him. Tyler Betsy from Syracuse, 3-point shooter, 6'8", 6'9" guy. Can shoot the leather out of the ball from Syracuse. The most important thing about these two transfers, and we'll dive in one by one here in a second on these guys, but the clear thing that you see right now, and especially guys who BYU is currently linked to and who they're trying to bring in, it's the fact that they're only going for Power 5 experience. And I think this is getting to a point in college basketball where there's just such a difference between the mid-major to high-major basketball. It's not a big leap going from ACC to Big 12, or, it's not a huge leap going from SEC to Big 12. It's a lateral move, if we're being honest. But some of these guys, and you saw it from last year, going from mid-major or low-major to the Big 12, the lights are just so bright for these guys.
So bright. It's all respect to mid-major basketball. There's some really awesome venues, but it's just different. The physicality takes control. And we see it now in the tournament as NIL's kind of just bolstered up the top teams. There hasn't been as many Cinderellas. I know you've heard that take a lot from multiple platforms, but that's kind of a microcosm of the point that you're making here, Carter. So I think it's really important, like you said, to grab these guys with P5 experience. Jake Wahlin, I think, is a really good get. It's really cool seeing guys. I mean, he's another one like Colin Chandler, who initially was committed to BYU. Obviously, with a lot of changes in the program, and Wahlin was on his mission, decided to go to Utah, eventually Clemson. Now he's coming back, and same with Colin Chandler, right? With things changed, decided to go somewhere else. Now they're coming back. I think it also says a lot about BYU, about these guys, where we can root for them eventually. I know that it was really exciting in the moment when they committed. Obviously, they're sad when they left, and here they are coming in, and we get to watch them play. Wahlin is very long. He could get more efficient from shooting beyond the arc. I think where he can find minutes, substantial minutes on this team, is being that do-it-all kind of guy, being really long, being effective around the rim, fighting for rebounds, hassling dudes on the defensive end, and just being kind of a menace out there in a way. And when he gets the ball and the opportunity to score, I think he has more than refined ball skills than a guy who was supposed to just be playing a menace on the court. He's overqualified for that position. And so if he can do that, and then when he gets the opportunities, make the most of them, I think he could carve out a nice role on this basketball team. We'll see who else they bring in, obviously. But I think it's a really, really great get for BYU. And obviously a guy that's, Utah guy, someone who initially wanted to be at BYU all along. So excited for him and excited for this team. And with Tyler Betsy, the big story there is the shooting. 40% from three last season on 4 attempts a game. It's nothing to slouch at. I would love to see him be in effect. If he's going to play power forward, he has to also do powered forward things, unless BYU fully decides to adopt a 3-point barrage approach, which I don't know if that's exactly in Kevin Young's repertoire. I know that first team did, but they just had shooters that with Richie Saunders and Trevin Nell and eventually Moet Mogg, who were just hitting insane shots towards the end of the season, and we're becoming so efficient, and Igor Demon helped out with that a lot. We don't need to talk about that team. I would love to see Betsy still continue to develop an actual 4 presence. Can he shoot threes, and can he be one of your best defenders? I mean, someone on this team has to do it, and you start to look at the roster. I know Bruce Branch is going to be a menace on that end, but if Betsy can do it, and then you have a 5 that can protect the rim, you're looking at a top 30, 40 Ken Palm team in defensive efficiency, when BYU last season was like sub 60, and we all know what happened on the defensive end, and we watched the tape. We were all there for the games. We were all traumatized together. So really love the shooting from Betsy. It's an obvious upgrade from last season, where we were just wondering where we could even find a single made 3 from. And so to have that kind of size and that kind of finesse from beyond the arc, another massive get, and legit experience. First at Cincinnati, played against BYU the 2 times, beat BYU that one game 2 years ago, then at Syracuse, and now coming down to Provo.
Yeah, and he's streaky. Betsy's streaky. That's the one thing I want to see is a little bit more consistency. But I think this is one of those plays where with Betsy and Wahlin, it's, hey, which one's got it this game? Which one doesn't? Look, it's, but these guys aren't going to be able to bring it every game probably. But if Betsy's hot one game, let it ride. If Wallin's hot one game, let it ride. These guys can both catch and shoot. Obviously, you'd like to see Wallin's percentages go up a little bit. I also think Wahlin, in his defense, some of the offenses he played on the last couple years have just been awful, where Clemson was a locked-in defensive menace team where Brad Brunell is an unbelievable coach and squeezes the most out of his teams, but that team had nobody who could create their own shot and create their own offense and get others open. It was grit and grind. It was lucky every time Clemson scored a basket last season. And so and then Utah the year before, I don't even have to mention that Utah team. So, and then with Betsy as well, both these guys kind of not Clemson and Brad Brunell really, but Betsy's coming from a dysfunctional Syracuse season where everything was hot and cold and herky jerky and nothing was consistent in a Red Autry system. There was no system when you watch their offense at times at Syracuse this past season. So hopefully having a bit more stability will help these guys out. And also, I think they're going to end up taking a lot more open shots at least you would think they would. And so I think their percentages will go up. I don't think they'll be asked to do as much or, if not a little bit less than what they were doing at their previous stops as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the rotation at 4 is very interesting and has the potential to be very, very good. It's going to be by committee because they all have very different skill sets. But obviously the third in that group I'm referring to is Hadim Boop, who is coming back to BYU. We all, you and I, after every game would come on this show, be like, we just want more Boop minutes. Look, we know he still has a lot of troubles handling the ball. He cannot shoot from beyond the arc. Every time he did, we'd get really excited, and then it would be like a grenade just launched in the stadium. But with a guy like Betsy balancing that out, and then Wahlin having more of like on-ball skills, like it's a very versatile 3 guys that can fill that position. And it might just be, like you said, a completely matchup game vibe, dependent rotation. Like if you need someone to fly and rebounds and play impossible defense, Hadim Boop's going to be your guy. If you need 3-point shooting, you got to put Betsy in. And if you need someone more versatile, put in Wahlin and see what you can do. I mean, it's going to be, I think, another season of we don't quite know the rotation fully until early December. But you have the guys and a very interesting group of guys at that position, at least, to figure it out. So I'm excited to see how Kevin Young and this staff handle it. They obviously are incredible at developing these dudes. Another offseason for Hadim Boop might do very well for him on the offensive end in handling the ball and just being able to finish around the rim. And of course, Wahlin and Betsy getting in the gym as well and the stuff that they're going to be working with. So very excited to see those guys work.
I think with the rotations, I mean, obviously the center hasn't been figured out. That'll be its own deal and everything else. Everything else, like point 1 through 3 feels kind of like pretty standard and what it is and everything. I kind of like the wild card at the 4 spot where, like you said, where you can throw all these 3 different type of players where it's like, hey, you need a defensive guy to go wreak havoc and, be flying all over the court. Okay, Boop, get out there. You need someone who's a little more steady, consistent, kind of playing both ends a little bit, won't mess up. Jake Wahlin, get out there. Okay, you need some 3-point shooting. You need to get back into a game. You're down 15. Spread the floor. Let's go. Tyler Betsy. I like that at the 4 spot, for being honest.
I 100% agree. I think it's going to be fun, honestly. And like I said, and you said, very different skill sets, very, very different holes that they can all fill for each other. Very yin and yang. There's potential for some really fun small ball stuff, small but also big all around. Like imagine okay, Boop, you're 5, Betsy in at 4, Colin Chandler, Bruce Branch 3 and 2, and that's a big small ball. You don't have a true center in there, but imagine how fast that team could be. There's all sorts of options there. I think it's a fun group of 4. I've said that a million times, but I like what they did there.
Yeah, I do too. And once again, I'll reiterate this point, and I will beat a dead horse. I just love that BYU is getting Power 5 basketball experience. You just have to have it.
Couldn't agree more. All these guys have played in big gyms. Some pretty big games.
It means a lot. Even Wahlin's played in the Big 12. He's played at Duke. He played in Madison Square Garden against BYU. Heck, this past season. So, anyhow, that's it on those guys. Let's talk about what everyone's probably tuning into this episode for is what's going on with the centers. What's going on with the big men so far. There are multiple guys BYU's being linked to, and there's nothing concrete at this point other than Obene Ikizi. He's a number 2 overall player, I believe, or top 5 player on Rivals, and number 1 center in the 2027 class is looking to reclassify and come out this year. And he took a visit to BYU on Saturday, and from all accounts, visit went fine, went okay, went well. But Arkansas has been there from the beginning. Calipari has been in his ear for a very long time. And so I still think Arkansas is very much in the lead at this point. But as we know with the portal and recruiting at this point in modern college basketball, it can change like that, and we could get a commitment before we end this show.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be awesome if it happened. But, yeah, Akizi is a guy that's obviously kind of sprung onto the radar, going to reclass. The guy's just an athletic freak, just a very good ball sense around the rim, can block any shot in the gym, very good at finishing and a relentless rebounder. I mean, it's exactly what you want out of BYU, and he's so young. There's obviously pros and cons to that. But if they were able to land him, it would be a wonderful just foundation, and then you wouldn't be done at the 5. Again, we talk about BYU needing 5. They need 2 5s. They need 2 centers here. They do not currently have one on the roster that's going to be playing minutes.
And with that being said, you see different guys BYU's linked to, and you got to do what you did at the 4 spot. I think if you're BYU, where at the 5 you need a rim protecting big, and then you also need a guy who can maybe stretch the floor a little bit and play some different lineups and have that kind of versatility. And so, and you cannot give up that size. You have to have guys. You have to have a legit 7-footer, at least one of them, especially ideally your rim protector. And Obene Ikizi would be a perfect fit at that spot. I don't necessarily know how I'd feel about him being a day 1 starter in the Big 12, graduating high school a year early, how he'd be ready to face, a team like Houston and their physicality and everything. But, splitting time, playing big minutes, I think that's fine. I think he's good enough to do that. Being, playing 30, 35 minutes a night, I think that's a lot to expect out of a guy, leaving high school a year early, playing in the best conference in college basketball.
For sure. Ideally, he's someone that can split minutes with another center. So something to be excited about, and would be a great start. But gosh, the 5 is just the biggest question. The good news is for, I guess, BYU in this sense is that they don't run a 5 heavy offense at all. In fact, pretty much the opposite. What they're looking for in a 5 is everything that you kind of just said. Someone that can rebound the ball, that can set good screens, run the rim, and then play amazing defense. In fact, even cover up some holes on defense. And if I don't see them running a lot of post-ups unless they were able to grab a very post-up heavy and scaled big. But that's just not really in the game. I know Kevin Young's first year with Fousseyni Traore, they did run post-ups because Fous was a master in the post, and that baby hook just was the bread and butter, your most consistent shot on the team there for a while. That's not necessarily in the game plan now. We saw it last year. And so coming into this season, you're just looking for some big bodies to play great defense. And so that's easier to find than banking it all on someone that can create his own shot. And if they had to play Akizi, right, if in a situation where he was the starter or whoever, they wouldn't be asking him, again, to create stuff on his own. It was just to support the teammates. And then, trust me, you will get your buckets. If you run the rim, if you're in the right spot, if you grab your rebounds, you can average 10 points, no problem. But just be doing those things. So that's what BYU is looking for in a 5, and that can narrow the search a little bit.
Yeah, and then another international prospect, everyone pointed out, Luigi Swigo. I don't know how to pronounce the last name yet. I've watched a bunch of film on him, and I've heard 20 different pronunciations and everything. But anyhow, 7'3" center from Italy. He declares for the NBA draft, but now with the NBA draft this year is that when these guys declare, technically, I mean, they all their agents are certified NCAA agents and everything. So therefore, even if you declare, it doesn't matter. You still have the eligibility to come back. Now, if you didn't hit the portal, which it doesn't matter for an international prospect because they're basically getting recruited, but like someone like Henry Vasar at Carolina, basically his decision now, or Christian Anderson at Texas Tech, their decision is stay at their school or draft now at this point. And so with a guy like Luigi, where, okay, he goes to the combine, he gets, grades and everything from even though he declared, and he's going to get info from scouts, GMs, and they're going to say, okay, you're, a second round pick, or yeah, we'll give you a first round guarantee, whatever the case may be. He can still pull his name out and still come back to college. So that recruitment is still not over yet. Remains to be seen who ends up with him, but BYU's involved.
BYU's involved. Heck, he could get drafted and then next year decide he wants to play some college ball. I mean, that's the way this is going.
Well, and then the other tricky part about this is why, like, I understand why BYU fans have so much anxiety about who's going to be their 5 next year too, but like BYU also has to play this really smart with the 5th-year eligibility stuff that's going on right now, even though, yeah, the NCAA came out today and said, oh, this wouldn't happen for retroactive guys this past year. This wouldn't go into effect until, 2027 or whatever. That's all fun and good to say, but then when the NCAA keeps getting destroyed in court, like the Washington Generals, then what are you going to do? Like they're going to have to allow these guys probably, and then all of these schools have spent 80 to 90% of their NIL money, and now you got like 5th-year dudes, like a guy like Kay Bakeda is going to be. You can go get Kay Bakeda all of a sudden again. You get another year out of him. And no one's going to have the money to pay these guys at this point. So they're going to go extremely cheap. So therefore, you have to keep an extra cash on the side and leave a roster spot open just in case. Because if that ends up going through, you cannot be left out when all of a sudden everyone's getting 5th-year dudes back. The entire Purdue roster is all of a sudden back. Like, you have to have cash for that. So it's frustrating as a fan if you're like, man, like I want to know what's going on, all this stuff. Everyone else is getting their bigs and everything. But the other thing is you're looking at these other schools. These other schools are paying outrageous money for these bigs who have not produced crap. They've probably really nice guys. I'm not trying to dog on them personally, but man, if you have a 7-foot number attached to your height on ESPN.com, congrats, man, on $2 million. It's ridiculous right now in the portal. Like a guy, we talked about this on air, off air. I can't remember at this point. Christian Reeves, played 2 years at Duke, medical red shirt and all this stuff, never got on the floor. Then he goes to Clemson, in and out. He couldn't really, stick with it at Clemson as a backup 5. And then goes to College of Charleston, injured a lot of the year, but, the last 8 weeks really turned it on, averaged like 11-8. And now 11-8 at College of Charleston. College of Charleston didn't win the CAA. They didn't go far in the tournament or anything. And yet he's going to Kansas and getting over $2.5 million to go to Kansas because Kansas has panicked and said, we cannot leave this cycle without a big man. We got to go splash some cash somewhere. And the same thing at Michigan State with Bonke from Charlotte. They had to go throw a ton of cash at him last second. And you're looking at Carolina right now with all of a sudden they thought Vasar was coming back. No, he's staying in the draft. Carolina's going to go splash some cash on some international guys at this point. And so I think it's smart to be patient and not, Halai Fanua or whatever from Georgetown, he commits to Oklahoma State. There's no need to throw cash at guys that you don't believe in yet. Take your time, find the right guys. And look, if you have to overpay at the end of the day, overpay for a guy you've done your homework on and and you feel confident about. Don't panic and just go grab some random dude that hit the portal that has 7 foot attached to his name and will average 12-6.
Well said. I love that. Wow. That was
awesome.
Went
on forever. I'm sorry, guys.
No. That was great. And I agree with you. And as you were thinking, I was just thinking BYU knows this. That is why they're being patient. I know it's not fun as fans to sit. It's not fun as us. We want to talk about this roster. We want to start, speculating and talking about the season, how it's going to look. But they're missing a massive piece. But like we said, they're taking their time for good reason. And again, BYU
still needs some other. They still need some other pieces. I'd love to see them add maybe another shooter, off the bench shooter, and then a combo guard. I understand like Nate Pickens is coming to the season healthy and everything, but I don't care. You cannot go into next season and be at a point where you're relying on just 2 point guards. You have to have somebody else who can handle the ball. You're not going to rely on Bruce Branch as a freshman to do that. Colin Chandler, that's not his game. You got to go get a combo guard that can at least handle the ball somewhat in case of situations and give Rob Wright some rest. And also, you don't want to bank on Nate Pickens, who's coming off a major injury.
Exactly. So the center's the big piece. They're still not over. I mean, watch us just start to get like these guards, and where everyone's gonna be like, "Where's the center at?" I wouldn't be shocked that happened at all. But BYU's figuring out. We got those 2 big targets that Karter mentioned they're definitely the ones with the most traction right now. But like you said, in 2 days that could completely change. Another name could come out, and we could be looking elsewhere. So
I wouldn't be surprised if just out of the blue commitment from a guy that BYU has not been linked to at all, some random international guy, and it's just a random news drop at 8 p.m. one night. Boom, some random guy you've never heard of from the EuroLeagues commits to BYU, 7-foot center.
Yeah,
anything's on the table.
Sometimes it happens that quick. I mean, if you get the call from at this point a program like BYU, I mean, you can decide within 24 hours that that's where I want to be. What's the offer? Like it can be that fast.
It's crazy because like John Shire, Drew Sharnowski from Belmont called him at 1 o'clock. He committed by 3. He's done deal, signed the deal in 2 hours. Like wasn't recruited at all. No contact prior to that or anything. Called at 1, signed a deal at 3.
If John Shire called me at 1, I probably wouldn't let him get off the phone until he knew that I was in.
The DocuSign couldn't come fast enough.
Yeah, send it over. Coach. Yeah, I'm not hanging up till I sign it with you.
Going from Belmont to, same thing with like BYU. Like if I'm a mid-major guy and BYU's like, hey, we want you, it's like I'm signing this paperwork before you hang up the phone.
Yeah.
I would be so bad in those situations where it's like, obviously your agent deals with all that and everything, but like if a school came to me and they're like, hey, they're offering you $300K, but we need to hold out because maybe we can get $400K from another school, I'd be like, screw that, dude. I'm signing for $300K right now.
Your agent's like, man, just play it cool. You're like, Coach, I'm so excited.
I'd be like, I'm an East Carolina Pirate, baby. Let's do this thing.
Yeah. Shout out to all these guys. I know there's a lot of complaining going on. The money's getting ridiculous and stuff. I understand.
The money is ridiculous, man.
Yeah, there's going to be some rules, some regulations coming down soon. It's the wild, wild west still. But I'm genuinely happy for every guy who gets paid, whether or not he deserves it. As long as he's smart with it and does what he's supposed to. Congratulations to all these guys, for real. That's awesome.
I know, that's freaking sweet. Like so many of these guys aren't going to play NBA basketball, but yet if they're smart and handle their money right, they're set for life. They'll live a very, very comfortable life from 4 years of playing college basketball. That's freaking awesome.
It's awesome. Yeah, as opposed to 10 years ago when you could dedicate 4 full years of your life. You could have get drafted in the first round and you could
have less money than what you started.
Yeah, exactly. I think in the end of the day, it's a good thing. It might be too much of a good thing right now. We'll see how the market resets and everything once everyone kind of wakes up and once the NCAA starts to implement some rules. But we're legitimately happy for these guys. Congratulations to all of them.
Yeah, and we should be getting a lot more non-conference games scheduled soon and announced and everything, and that should be coming together probably more later into May, usually when that stuff gets released and everything. So stay tuned for that. We'll get into that and everything here on the podcast. And then once again, we'll be doing all the instant reaction stuff. We'll be posting them on the audio feeds as well now this week and everything. So make sure to subscribe, follow at ChurchBallPod and everything, at Chase_Roger0, at Karter B8. And Field of 68 Podcast Network YouTube channel. That's where we'll be doing all the stuff on YouTube. So subscribe. We'll see y'all next time. Bye.